On this Rochdale estate, where a 2-year-old boy lost his life, the Housing Secretary today agreed to come with us to meet tenants.
I'm going to show you a tenant we've been speaking to,
who fear what damage the same squalid conditions are doing to them.
Thank you.
In the same block where Awaab Ishak died lives this 34-year-old woman.
How long have you been living here?
8 years.
She's pregnant and is worried about black mould in her flat. She showed Michael Gove the pictures she sent Rochdale Borough-wide Housing, the boiler that leaks and the walls covered in mould she's been told to paint over.
This is this very bad smell. You can just realise about the smells.
She's having to sleep on the sofa in the living room, petrified of what the mould could do to her unborn child.
They haven't dealt with a fundamental problem.
Because of this flat, every time we have to do things cleaning, painting.
I'm so sorry.
And because of this flat, it gives you a lot of pressures and makes you a lot of pressure. You know, you can't be happy.
We sat down with Mr. Gove to ask him what he's going to do.
It shouldn't take a death of a boy to bring you here, should it?
No, and I think we all know, following on from Awaab's case, that a light is being shone on the condition of so many homes, and to be here in Rochdale and to see that the situation still hasn't improved.
When 72 people died at Grenfell, your government said, never again, we're going to do something about this. And yet 3 years later, a 2-year-old boy died on this estate. Your government didn't do anything about it. They didn't regulate, they didn't protect tenants. Tenants aren't being heard. Your government failed, didn't they?
Lessons were learned, but the process of implementing the changes hasn't been, you're right, either as quick or as complete as it should be. And that's my job now.
It all just feels a bit late though, doesn't it, Michael Gove? It just feels like we've had to watch people die for this to happen.
I feel a sense of urgency in trying to resolve this situation. So today, we made an announcement about some of the penalties that we're putting on housing associations that are not doing their job. We're bringing forward legislation.
You're talking about punishing social landlords effectively by removing funding for new builds. But ultimately, it's tenants that will suffer if we don't build enough houses, isn't it?
We can make sure that the money that we're withholding is spent on building new homes. It may not be spent by these housing associations. They're not yet ready. They're not in a fit state to be able to spend that money effectively because they can't even look after the homes, which are their first responsibility. We'll make sure that money is spent on building other homes.
But also, track record on that, though, is appalling. I mean, you say, great, we'll use that money and we'll build them instead, but your record, I mean, fewer than 6,000 social homes built last year when 90,000 are needed. I mean, the government's got a terrible record on building homes.
We have a renewed focus on making sure that we use that money effectively.
Residents here are all too used to promises being broken. They hope this isn't the latest.
Well, Dan, you've been investigating the parlous state of housing, haven't you, for years now. Do you think this new plan will really make any difference?
Well, one of the arguments, Mary, for why estates like this and others across the country have fallen into such squalid disrepair is that housing associations have effectively taken their eye off the ball. They focus too much on developing new properties and not looking after the ones they've got. Now, Michael Gove is gambling on the idea that if he removes that funding for new developments, it will drive up standards. The risk, of course, is that stopping any new homes being built will ultimately punish the tenants who are the victims in all of this. Now, the one thing Michael Gove is doing to try and counteract that, he told me today, is he's asked his housing department to go and look to find any extra money he can give to local authorities to carry out more emergency repairs around the country. Now, while Michael Gove was here today, he also met the family of Awaab Ishak. He met Awaab's parents to hear what they had to say. I'm told they were encouraged by that meeting with the Housing Secretary, and he has agreed to meet them in 6 months' time. The one meeting he wasn't impressed with today, though, I was told, was with Rochdale Borough-wide Housing's board, who he says he still does not have confidence that these places here are safe for tenants.